Capitalism, as we know it, seems like a very cold concept. Efficiency, systems and mechanisms and players interacting with each other based on a rational way. Um, Now, China's approach is a bit different. It's a combination of market mechanisms, which work very well, but also a very strong role of the state. What's a defining characteristics of the Chinese state is that it not only controls resources, but it can mobilize resources and it can allocate resources. And it doesn't have to do it according to market demands and market needs. And sometimes this is very important and useful. For instance, during the pandemic, the ability to gather all these resources very quickly and to leverage technologies that are built by private companies to very quickly do the track and tracing, to kind of share data across the hospitals. I mean, that's a kind of power that perhaps only the Chinese state has, but it has served a very important purpose and role. If China wants to become a technological superpower and the state is behind it, mobilizing the entire countries, connecting from universities to national labs to local governments to companies, making it a whole network and making sure that innovation is encouraged and the necessary amount of money is spent on building cutting edge technology, etc., that will be very, very important. Again, this is not based on pure market economics and capitalism as it is. So China has chosen a combination of both. Sometimes it would also serve more social purposes. For instance, the fight against major monopolies might be easier to be done in China than in the US, and maybe that would be for a good reason. Kind of mobilizing resources to fight poverty and completely eliminate poverty very quickly is not an outcome that based on pure capitalistic systems and market economies would be able to achieve, but the government can do it because it can just pull resources into these regions, and helping these people by specifically targeting them. That's, again, something that is outside of pure market economies. There's so many examples to that effect. Now, of course, that can also be abused, right? I think the reason that people are so skeptical about any role of the state or a major role of the state is that it can be abused and used for the wrong reasons, and it could be highly effective at doing that. We've seen that in the past, where the state has a concentration of power, and it led to very disastrous outcomes. We've seen that all over the world, and that has given us an impression that that is a likely outcome with absolute power. So I wouldn't say that there's no risk. There is a risk precisely because when you don't leave it just to pure capitalism or market economies, there's a risk of this bad emperor problem, if you will. So that, I think, is the main difference. So far, if we believe that you have a benevolent government where the government really cares about maximizing the welfare of the people, it can actually be much more effective in doing that than having a pure capitalist society. If China really wanted to tackle the inequality problems, it does not necessarily have to rely on pure market mechanisms to slowly resolve that, or give lots of different kind of policy tools to address that. It has a range of levers and tools, much more available to them than what is available to normal governments. So the question is, how do you use it? And again, we have to take into account that country has different set of preferences, and China wants to grow really fast and wants to become a technological superstar. And there are consequences and there are sacrifices made along the way. For example, during China's growth, there was a sacrifice of consumption. People saved a lot in order for this capital to go into the companies, to fund these companies, to build these factories, to build a manufacturing powerhouse. Consumption was suppressed. That is a sacrifice that current and past generations have made. Not many other countries might want to go down that road. So it is a much more complex picture than what the textbook model has explained to us. And thus we should allow for these differences to play out in their various ways across the world.